Iran is one of the few countries which believes that the Israeli, what they call the Zionist regime, must be swept off the surface of this earth. There is not a single country that uses that kind of rhetoric as regards the state of Israel. But one can never say never. In the history of the world, the worst of enemies have sometimes become allies for the sake of either a short-term agenda or a long-term agenda. And who knows that even as between Iran and Israel, there may come into place administrators or administration that see the bigger picture and recognize that for the sake of peace and relative stability, they ought to have a détente or a rapprochement, and that is what will serve the both of them, because there is also wariness of war. The Israelis are wary of war. The Iranians also want an economy that is vibrant and thriving, and that can only be achieved in the absence of conflict. So one can foresee a situation where in future there may be some kind of very structured relationship between Iran and Israel and the United States of America. And it is in this context that I understand the willingness of the Iranians on different occasions to enter into an arrangement as regards their nuclear capability, and to convince both the West and the West, to include the United States of America, that our enrichment of uranium is not for military purposes, but for civilian purposes. All these tells you that the appetite for peace is there, and it must be there. When you fought a war into a stalemate with the Iraqis 1980 to 1988, the impact is still there. When you are being bombed, when you are sanctioned, when your money is almost worthless in real terms, and you know that the source is that there is a conspiracy against you which is being choreographed from the United States of America and Europe, and that you have a neighbor in Israel, not a neighbor in the physical geographical sense, but a neighbor in the sense of being in the same geopolitical region, which is ready to be used as a hammer to strike you as a nail, then you can have appetite for some kind of peace, however described. You know, Yemen, the regime change in Iran is going to be impactful in the region. I think as regards Yemen and the Houthis, particularly in Yemen, their big underwriters have been the Iranians. As we know now, the Saudis are beginning to gain ground in that part of the world. And I think if the regime changes in Iran, then the supply of weapons will be cut, and the Houthis will not have the capacity or the ability to deal with the Saudis or any other perceived enemies in the manner that they have been. And they will have no bullets in quantities that they need. They will not have the missiles in the quantity that they need. And they would very easily be subdued by the combined force of the Saudis and the Israelis. So it would change that situation very dramatically. Indeed, even as I speak, the situation in Yemen is changing. The ease with which the Saudis have been gaining territory and the ease with which you can see things happening in the favor of the Saudis is indicative of the fact that something is not happening, and that supplies from Iran are not happening as they used to the Houthis in Yemen. So the regime change, if it happens in Iran, is going to have major geopolitical realities in that arena. You know, when I think about the President of the United States of America, President John Donald Trump, and what he says after every event, He said when they bombed Iran, when they tried to take out their nuclear facility, he said, we did it so efficiently, so effectively, in the only way that the United States of America can do it. No other nation on earth can do it like we do it. And when they did it in Caracas, he used the same rhetoric. And I'm quite certain if there was a regime change, he'll say, we told you, it is only the United States of America that is capable of doing this. And it's only possible when I, Donald Trump, is the President of the United States of America. The only word that he has yet to use is to say that he is the greatest president that the United States of America has and will ever see. And it is interesting that as he wages these little wars, he still thinks that he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, even as he wages war. So I imagine that that is going to happen, if, or rather will or could happen if there is a regime change. He'll of course engage in rhetorical chest thumping that the United States of America is indeed the greatest nation on earth, which is in keeping with the rhetoric that his agenda is to make America great again. This America that was humiliated under Carter, this America that was humiliated under the Democrats' administration, has now been restored to the highest pedestal, and it is doing what it should: police the world. And that is demonstrated by his own statement that the only thing that restricts him, and therefore by extension the United States of America, is his own morality. In the recent past, no leader has ever said that the only restraining thing is his own morality as judged by himself. In all these things, Israel stands in a very unique position. Unique in the sense that since the creation of the United Nations in 1945 and the coming into force of international instruments such as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Geneva Conventions of 1949, the institutions such as the ICC, the institutions such as the ICJ, Israel is the only country on earth that now operates outside of what is known as international law. They are not subject to it, not because they are exempted, but they simply believe that the state of Israel is unique and cannot be subject. So when all these happens, I think the Prime Minister of Israel and those who are in support of extremism in Israel will come and say, we told you, we are the chosen people. Whatever we do is what the law is. We can ignore anybody on earth. We can do what we want, and nobody can do anything about it. And that arrogance is self-evident on a daily basis from the rhetoric of the leaders of Israel in both their guarded and unguarded moments. And they will be able to say, who can tangle with us in the entire region? We have subdued the Arabs, the Iranians who thought that they were different. We have also subdued them. Israel is Israel. Israel is chosen. That is what they will say. And international law doesn't apply to us. In fact, no law applies to us. We are the law. It reminds me of what in the King Henry VIII of France once said, that he is the state. I hear Netanyahu saying, I am the world. I am the world. It's painful. You know, as we speak now, and there are too many things on the table, too many moving parts in the ongoing justing or this diplomatic thing between the United States and Iran. If indeed it happens, and it can, that the United States of America and Iran enter into an arrangement that then stabilizes their relationship, the Middle East will change. Because if you look at the Middle East now, nobody simply wants to speak against Israel. Look at all of them: the Saudis, the Egyptians, the Lebanese, the Jordanians. Nobody wants to speak against Israel. The only country that really raised its head and said, we cannot allow this to happen and we are going to do something about it, is Iran. So you take Iran out of the equation, then Israel rules the roost and does so in the manner that it prescribes and implements, and nobody can do anything about it. Look at Syria now. The leader is now doing what America wants him to do. When the Israelis want to bomb, when the Americans want to bomb, they do it at will. Right now, as we speak in the Middle East, the Beirut government is already saying that we are moving south to disarm Hezbollah. And of course, the Jordanians have nothing to say. So eliminate Iran from the equation. Israel is the dominant power, doing what they want without consequence. You know, when you look at the dynamics in the region, the metaphor, or is it the idiom, have your cake and eat it, occupies a very interesting position. The United States of America and Israel have always taken the position that they can literally have their cake and that they can eat it. In the short to medium term, they may think that that is true. But in the long term, it is what creates resistance. It is what creates organizations and energizes organizations such as ISIS. So that you may think that you are safe as a nation, but your people are not safe. That is why even long after stability appears to have come, you find people are being killed by way of mass shootings, by way of individuals being threatened. So if you look at nations as composed of people rather than amorphous organizations and institutions, then you can only have your cake and eat it to a certain extent. But you expose your citizens to danger wherever they are. They must always look behind to see who is hunting them down, because they are citizens of a particular nation. And I hope that that message is understood by those who run nations which think that they can run roughshod over all nations on earth. Ultimately, there is a payback time. And as somebody once said, I think it was in Afghanistan, they said the Mujahideen have a very long memory.